There's quite a few questions about the release of Prophecies 2010 to 2019, and a few have asked, why did you wait until 2009 to release the prophecies that were recorded in 2004?
It was released before. It was released on a CD. And I think it came out at the end of 2004 into 2005.
And
so it was released on a CD.
And then it was put out on YouTube in 2009.
Yes.
Okay. What do you think of James Randi, the gentleman who really does quite a job at unearthing?
I think he's great. And if he could work out how I do what I do, I'd love it. In fact, I'll give him a challenge. I challenge James Randi to discover how I do what I do.
Is there anything you wouldn't tell somebody?
If I'm asked a very direct question, something like that might be, when am I going to die?
Mm-hmm.
No, I wouldn't. I'd have to say to the person, are you sure you want to know? Are you absolutely sure?
Some people ask, is there a God?
Mm-hmm.
And if there is, what do you think God is?
My sense of it is, if you have a need for a God, then you will have one.
And what do you say to people who say that you're a fake?
Nothing.
That's a good answer.
There's nothing to say. They have their opinion.
When you see a disaster, how do you deal with it?
Well, you mean personally, or?
Yes. How?
All right. In my experience, when I've seen a disaster, I don't tend to have a reaction at the time of seeing it, and I think perhaps that's because I am detached. What can happen is later, when I hear about it, or if I see it on the news or something like that, then I have a reaction. I can become very upset. And I think maybe part of that also is a frustration, because you've seen it, you know it's going to happen, but you can't do anything about it. Who do you tell? And if you do tell somebody, and then it happens, the finger's pointed at you, like, well, how did you know? Or who are you associated with? And things like that. So, yeah, I usually react afterwards when I've seen it.
Some people say that it's a gift and it's wrong to expect payment.
Yes, they do say that.
What's your thoughts on it?
Well, I've still got to pay the mortgage, run the car, feed my family. I need to make a living. And if it is a God-given gift, He's going to want me to do His work or her work. I've got to eat.
When did you first discover that you had this ability?
A long time ago. Well, no, not so long. 14. I was about 14.
Mm-hmm. And how did it feel for you at that time?
A bit spooky, but not too bad. My dad was a faith healer, so I was kind of around people who understood what was going on. But for me, it was a bit spooky at first.
In your different readings that you've done, has there been any that really stayed in your mind as being quite surprising?
Yes, a lady who had a child that was a damaged child, and what we discovered through the reading was that she'd actually been given some medication when she was about 6 months pregnant that had caused the damage to the child. And I found at the time it wasn't an easy one to put across to the lady, because obviously she'd taken the medicine, so thinking she might be feel then responsible for the damaged child. But it was the relief for her, because she had actually not had any more children, thinking that there was something wrong with her. And so that was surprising, because when we discovered what it was, she'd since had twins. So it was surprising and a happy ending.
Wonderful. And are you planning to do any more readings for YouTube?
Oh yes, yes. It goes considered much, much better than releasing CDs.
A few people have wondered whether you are planning to do a development set for people to be able to purchase and develop their own abilities. Is that still on the cards for you to do?
I've already started it.
Ah, okay.
I think that's what they call work in progress.
Ah, okay. And you're married. You have a dog. You live in London.
Yeah.
You share your time between London and an island in Greece. How do you manage that?
Easily, effortlessly, and with pleasure.
Any young budding psychics out there who are uncertain about how to progress for themselves, would you have a message for them?
You got to believe in yourself. You got to clear your mind and accept whatever comes to you. And of course practice. One of the things I used to do was I would go into what you might call a psychic state, I suppose. And then I'd ponder on, I'd want to know what was going to be the headlines on the newspaper, say for next Friday or something. And so I would practice that way. And then I'd just write it down and then see what happened next Friday. I would do things like that to practice. I'm often asked about the lottery numbers.
Oh yes, yes. Yeah.
No, I haven't picked the lottery numbers.
Is it because they're not I know in the past you've mentioned about it needs to be living, and it's digital.
That's the only explanation I can think of.